Haven't had your coffee yet? Us either. That's why we're taking this quick 20-second break so we can slam a cup real quick. Don't worry, the Solid Reasons Morning Show will be back in just a few more seconds. Much better. And we're back.
And we're back moving things along here. We're fast and fast.
Too much stuff to talk about today.
I know. There is too much. And it's Friday. This is, it's one of those things, man. I don't know how to... this is a crazy picture, by the way. Did you see this? So, yeah.
What is that? It's Muslims.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Oh, never mind. It is Muslims. But it's the, I think it's like the Mecca or whatever. But do you see, how much construction is going on here? Look at all of the cranes. They're
that's crazy.
Just going on, and they're just everywhere, all around that area. It's just insane.
It's crazy.
So, anyhow, I just thought that was really interesting. The Pew Forum coming out stating that by the year 2050. Robots will do many of our errands and drive our cars for us.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that has to do with Islam.
By the way, I don't think there's any...
You don't think there's anyone?
Verse that says he's coming back. I know, and it's I know he's coming back. That's what she said.
I know she's coming back?
I know he's coming back. That's what Mary or somebody said.
Interesting.
Well... They didn't, but
yeah. Well, anyway, the article is talking specifically about the rise of Islam, and Islam. In fact, this is quote straight out of the article here. Islam, the world's fastest growing faith, will leap from 1.6 billion in 2010 to 2.76 billion by the year 2050. According to the Pew study, at that time, Muslims will make up nearly 1/3 of the world's total projected population of about 9 billion. Now, granted, I think that's kind of an interesting
I don't know how you...
projection.
Like I said off air, I don't know how you even...
It's got to be based on growth rate of other individuals. The Pew study predicts Christians will increase from 2.17 billion to 2.92 billion. Composing more than 31% of the world's population. More than 6 out of 10 people on Earth will be Christian or Muslim. Not quite sure what that has to do with anything. But, anywho.
Yeah.
With us by phone, joining us, Jonathan McLatchie out of Newcastle, England, where they make... actually, we don't know if they actually make beer there. But it seems that if they did make Newcastle beer... That's where they would make it, in Newcastle, England. Right?
Sure. Seems logical.
It seems okay to me.
Therefore.
Right. What were you going to ask him? Weren't you going to ask him something the last time, and then you forgot to ask him? And you're like,
about his accent?
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, let's ask him now.
Anyway. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me back on again.
We're going to adjust your levels here, make sure that everyone can hear you. Talk to us a little bit here about this article. We've got a rise of Islam. Of course, we already knew that it was one of the fastest growing religions. Now, of course, Pew study saying that it is the fastest. Is this a situation where people are converting to Islam? I mean, we've seen many situations now where individuals here in the U.S., England, Australia, of individuals, young girls, in fact, deciding to be part of ISIS. I mean, is that the situation here, that they're growing at such a large rate, or is there something else here that's going on?
Well, if you read the article carefully, it says, and I'm quoting from the article, quote, as the one of the main determinants of that future growth is where each group is geographically concentrated today. Religions with many adherents in developing countries where birth rates are high and infant mortality rates generally have been falling are likely to grow quickly. Much of the worldwide growth of Islam and Christianity, for example, is expected to take place in sub-Saharan Africa. Today's religiously unaffiliated population, by contrast, is heavily concentrated in places with low fertility and aging populations such as Europe, North America, China, and Japan. And he goes on to say that globally, Muslims have the highest fertility rate, an average of 3.1 children per woman, well above replacement level, which is 2.1, the minimum typically needed to maintain a stable population. Christians are second at 2.7 children per woman. Hindu fertility at 2.4 is similar to the global average, and so forth. And it also goes on to say in the following paragraph, another important determinant of growth is the current age distribution of each religious group, whether its adherents are predominantly young, with their prime childbearing years still ahead, or older and largely past their childbearing years. So it seems to me that it's not simply a function of conversion to Islam so much as it's a function of the high birth rates among the Muslim population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting too that you look at, especially in Africa, being just the technology and things that have gone into that area. Going from a very high infant mortality rate or immortality rate.
Mortality?
Too many double negatives there.
That's mortality, not immortality.
Oh, high. Oh yeah.
Immortality would be.
No. Yes, you're right, dude. It's too early. Shut up.
Come on, bro.
Yes, very high infant mortality rate to now much lower as a result of the medical organizations and everybody else that's going there to help that. Of course, lower diseases, immunizations, and other things in order to really help that community. And of course, as a result of that, I think that you end up seeing that in the rise of that nation or that area's practiced religions. What do you think this has to do with really the area of missions for Christians? I mean, is this something that we should really be picking up our briefcases and our Bibles and knowing that this is in fact the case, that we should ensure that we are in these areas maybe more than we are now?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Christians, there's a huge increase in Islam in the West, in the UK and in America, and there's a significant contingent of the population in both Britain and North America who would subscribe to the religion of Islam. And I think it's important, it's imperative on the Christian that we acquaint ourselves with Islamic theology, that we prepare ourselves to be able to dialogue with people in our own countries as well as those who see it as their calling from God to go abroad to other countries which have a higher Muslim population. But I think it's important as Christians that we understand the basics of Islam, that we understand how to respond to common Muslim argumentation, especially as it pertains to our own faith. The Bible, has the Bible been preserved? How should a Christian articulate the doctrine of the Trinity? Is Muhammad found in the Bible? And things like that. So I think it's important that we understand Islam and be prepared to dialogue with Muslims in Western countries such as Britain and North America, as well as other nations like that.
Well, and it's interesting too, being an individual that lives in the UK, we of course see lots of articles regarding that divide, that the really the cultural situation that's going on right now with the UK really allowing so much to happen over the years with and the rise of the Muslim population in the UK, and now all of a sudden you're really seeing a lot of the effects of that. Can you speak to that for a couple moments?
The effects of the Islamization?
Yeah, I mean, you really look to see, I think that, just policy and other things that have related. I mean, you talk about some of the Sharia law exemptions and such that have been allowed in the UK, and now all of a sudden we're seeing some of that. Over the years. I mean, now that it's actually had time to implement this, and the reason I bring that up is because, as you pointed out, it's very important for us to be able to see these things and see the effects, and also be able to realize that these are things that we need to address as Christians, even on our home turf, not just abroad. And here in the U.S., we're just now starting to get to the point where we're starting to allow these things. Dearborn, Michigan, of course, we take a yearly trip there to do outreach to the Muslims there. That's the highest, densest population of Arab Muslims in the entire United States. The east side of Dearborn making up, I believe, 99% of the population. But now down in Texas, we have our first Islamic tribunal that has just been established within the last few months. And so these are things that, I feel like we're just moments behind you guys in the UK, where all of a sudden we're now, stepping things up. And we're like, oh, yeah, these guys are peaceful. Let's let them have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So, I think to be able to see the effects that you guys are dealing with, it's like, well, that's what we're going to end up dealing with in a few years.
Right, and France, the nation of France, is even closer to the edge of the cliff than we are. In France, there are even no-go zones where even the police don't go, and they're governed by Sharia law. And these no-go zones are expanding. I think it's a great mistake to invite this cancer, if you will, into your nation, So France has a even higher percentage of the population who subscribe to Islam than we do in the UK. We also have a huge Muslim contingent in the UK as well, and it's been suggested by people over the past several years, now and again, that we introduce elements of Sharia law, which I think would be a disaster. I mean, I don't think people really understand what Sharia law actually entails and what its roots really are.
And Sharia law is literally blended into the religion of Islam, correct? I mean,
Right.
Even though it's something that is separate, you don't necessarily have to practice Sharia with practicing Islam, but the two tend to go together, correct?
Right. Yeah. Sure.
It's very interesting to really see these things in action. It's interesting because all the way from the time of Paul and Thessalonians, they were worried about the end of the world, and yet, you kind of go more and more, and here we are. I mean, Jesus, come quickly are the only my only thoughts on this Good Friday. Jonathan, it was a pleasure to have you with us just for a few minutes here to chat about this article. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Well, take care.
Take care. Thanks very much. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Paul Ruppel about another interesting article regarding physiology. I don't know, it's so much out of my scope.
Out of mine, too. That's why we got Paul.
It's very true. That's why we got Paul. Anyway, we'll be right back.